We're with second-year head coach Matt LaBranche of the Eastern baseball team. Matt, the season's almost here. How'd the preseason go, and are you at the point where you wanted to be at this point?
No, we're not really at the point we want to be right now. But that's a little bit of that is every coach is never quite satisfied with where they're at during preseason. But it's been a challenging winter, obviously, with the weather and fighting for space and time. We're probably a little bit behind in our preparations than we want to be. But we're making progress, and it's certainly helpful that we have some veterans that have been through a preseason with me before. So I think we got off to a good start because players knew expectations and how we wanted to attack our work. But we have a little ways to go for me to be completely comfortable with opening the season.
Well, you've been coaching in New England long enough, so you sort of know what the thing is in the winter, right? That you're not going to get outside by and large.
Right.
Has it been nice this year just to be able to focus on baseball? Get hired last year under unsettled situation, but in a lot of questions, you're sort of under a magnifying glass. Is it nice just to not have that and you can just concentrate on what you're paid to do?
Absolutely. Being a second-year coach probably anywhere is nicer because it's no longer a transition piece. But certainly in this situation, that was even more amplified. And there was some curiosity factor about me and the program, and some interview requests and things of that nature, which I didn't have a problem focusing on the baseball last year, but this year it's been nice to just focus on the baseball and not have to answer a lot of the same questions and work on getting the team ready.
And also the players had to answer those questions,
Absolutely.
And they can sort of concentrate on the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think there's some real familiarity now with the veteran players, knowing what to expect from me, being able to help the new players with my expectations and the team expectations, both how we go about our business and just culture. We definitely were much further along first day of the fall than we were, last year.
Yeah.
We definitely were much further along first day of preseason than we were last year. And we're certainly, we're excited about the direction we're going in.
So probably last year, you come in and you might have had part of your concentration or emphasis had to be on people buying into what you were saying. And that has gone away this year, right?
We're still working on it.
Yeah.
It's hard for players that have played, for multiple coaches or upperclassmen. We're still developing relationships. We're still developing culture, and there has been some transition this year in terms of adding players, subtracting players, and finding the right mix and getting, as you say, that buy-in. So overall, I think there is a much higher level of buy-in, but we still focus on the process day in and day out, and I'm not satisfied we're completely there yet, but we're going in the right direction.
You had phenomenal success at Western New England. You were there for 14 years. You were very settled in there. Did it surprise you in any way that you were going to come in here and win right away like that?
Absolutely not. I mean, I think I tried not to set the expectations in my own mind too high because I wanted to take the long view in terms of coming in here and establishing my approach and my program, and knowing that if the process was right, that over time the success would take care of itself. But the bottom line is I inherited outstanding talent, and I inherited an excellent foundation, and this is Eastern Connecticut and Eastern Connecticut baseball, and there's a certain amount of expectation amongst the players that they're going to compete at a high level and be successful, and sort of that mindset and those expectations and the foundation that was provided here. I certainly believed we were going to be competitive and successful. To what degree, I wasn't quite sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I certainly expected us to be competitive and to be successful.
Talk about that, winning that final championship game. Did it feel like any kind of weight was lifted off your shoulder? Like to yourself saying, I did prove I can come in here after being successful somewhere else and I can be successful?
I would say maybe not quite to that degree. I don't... I think I'm my harshest critic. I think I went through the year sort of putting the same amount of pressure on myself as I would always. And so in that sense, I didn't really feel like there was added pressure. I think all of us as competitive coaches and athletes, attack seasons with something to prove, and I'm trying to, reprove myself every year, and want my teams to want to reprove themselves every year, because each team just gets that one season, and to either reach your goals or to not reach your goals. So my approach didn't change. It wasn't that it was a sense of relief when we won the tournament, but there was a tremendous amount of satisfaction that, yes, it was a unique situation, a unique year, and there was tremendous satisfaction to get to that level and reach some of those external goals, and I was very happy for the players, to come back, off of a year that was obviously really unfortunate for the kids, and for them to put the hard work in and see that come to fruition, and last year, especially for the seniors, to end in a conference championship, and being able to dogpile, at Eastern Stadium, was a great way to finish it. So yes, it was tremendous satisfaction, personal satisfaction for me to have a successful year on the field, given the amount of hard work and the transition for me. But equally, very happy for the players who had played in the previous teams, and to have them to be able to bounce back and have a finish on a note like that last year was really gratifying.
Well, you had your first recruiting class this year. Did you find any difference in recruiting at Eastern, either more difficult or harder than at Western New England, or is it all just recruiting?
Yeah, it's very different here at Eastern Connecticut, I think every coach has to kind of learn in their new environment the ins and outs of recruiting at a particular institution. One of the things that was attractive about the job for me was the quality of the baseball in the state of Connecticut, and my contacts already cultivated in the state of Connecticut, and the idea that we could offer a quality education at one of our state universities, would obviously be attractive to the quality Connecticut player. Mm-hmm. So in that sense, you can do some more targeted recruiting, and you can put together recruiting classes earlier in the year. Yeah. But every place has its challenges in terms of the recruiting process. I was excited about, given the short run-up, getting the job in August. We're pleased that we were able to get some quality players in my first recruiting class, and we expect, the longer I stay here and grow into this environment and have full cycles of recruiting calendars, we expect to, be very competitive on the recruiting scene. Already very excited about the guys that we have committed as early as this past November, to come in and play for us next year.
You have some holes to fill this year. You lost the left side of your infield. You lost some pitching. You lost your first baseman. Do you see some of those people coming in right away? Your new people?
Yeah, we have some transfers that are proven college players that we expect to impact us in positive ways immediately. And there are some freshmen that are going to be pressed into service, whether I like it or not, or whether they're ready or not. And there's some talented kids, and we think that they have bright futures. And we think that they're going to be mentally tough enough that some of the ups and downs or some of the lumps they might take, being pressed into surface a little sooner than we'd like, that they can survive and be better for it in the long run. So yeah, we have some guys that we think are going to be very good players, and less concerned about replacing as good of players as they were. Yeah. I'm less concerned about replacing position players, because we think we have good enough athletes and good enough bats and some flexibility in our roster that we can do that. We need some guys to step up on the mound, and we're a little younger on the mound than I'd like us to be, and so we may be attacking it by committee a little bit, and we're going to need some of those young guys to grow up quick.
Well, we talked a little bit before. It seems like flexibility in left-handed arms and left-handed bats could be an improved part of the team this year?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have more options day to day in terms of putting together a lineup, making changes mid-game, going more left-handed, putting more punch in the lineup, going more with the defensive lineup. I'm going to have some roster flexibility and more options day to day, and we definitely needed to get more left-handed, and both on the mound and at the plate, and we've been able to do that. And we were able to even address it a little bit more in our next recruiting class. So I think over the next couple of years we'll have a lot more balance in the roster than we had last year.
Is that a conscious decision for you when you're recruiting? Like, we need to get some left-handed arms, we need to get some left-handed bats?
It certainly was this year. And last year, to be honest, again, given the short run-up on the recruiting, we did some volume recruiting, and we were digging in the corners just for players in general.
Yeah.
And this year, because we, again, felt like it was a little bit more of a targeted year, and I had a full cycle of recruiting, it was sort of an active plan to be looking for left-handed bats and to be looking for left-handed arms.
Matt, last question. The Little League preseason poll came out, and even though you beat Southern Maine 3 times last year, there was a lot of people that were surprised that you were number 1. I was not surprised at all, but how did you look out of there? Don't you even really care?
Well, I'm not a big fan of preseason polls. However, it didn't surprise me necessarily that we came out on top. I wouldn't have, if someone were to ask me, I probably wouldn't have guessed, but it didn't necessarily surprise me. Mm-hmm. What I did expect is that it was very bunched at the top and tight. And I expected that because I think there's several teams that have a good chance of winning the league. But I think the returning champ, always gets a little more play than other teams, regardless of whether or not people are looking really hard at what they have back or don't have back.
Yeah.
So I think some of that's a nod to what we did last year, and I certainly think people expect us to be competitive year in and year out. And as the defending champ, it probably isn't a surprise that we got the nod in a very close race, which is what I expected.
It's pretty normal. That gives you the edge. Yeah. Well, Matt, good luck this year. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.